Today is lecture number 10 of this Introduction to Physical Metallurgy class. And till now, we have initiated a topic that is about crystal. And also, we know that the materials, basically metallic materials or alloys or ceramics, they are crystalline materials, right? But today, we'll study something that is the material science behind this structure, crystal structure. So this is very interesting and very important also for a material science people and for materials engineers also, and for all us also, right? So these are the today's content, that is crystal, then lattice, then motif. This motif is also called basis, and other contents are unit cell, lattice vector, lattice translation. So these are the today's content. So geometry of crystal. So what exactly crystal is? That is the question now. Basically, if you remember, in a crystalline materials, as I have told, there is a periodic arrangement of atoms will be there in 3 dimension. So crystal can be defined as like this. It is a 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms in space. So it should be 3-dimensional one, and the atomic arrangement should be periodic, right? And you can also define a crystal like if it is made up of any uh, ions, positive and negative ions, that is called group of ions or group of atoms, or it is made up of, basically we consider atoms, right? So you can simply say a 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms in space, or 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of ions in space. You can say like that, no problem, right? But to explain, sometimes we can use some 2-dimensional crystal, but in real situation crystals are 3-dimensional, right? But to explain, sometimes we use 2-dimensional crystals, right? For example, a crystalline material is made up of 2 different atoms, ions, right? Then if we look at the atomic level, we will find that there is a periodic arrangement or continuity of particular atoms in a particular direction in crystal. Or in other words, atom repeat itself in a regular interval. So that is a crystal. So if you look at a crystal, you will see that atoms will repeat itself regularly after a regular interval, or after a particular distance, the atoms will repeat itself, right? If it is a group of atom, then it will repeat like that in a group of atomic manner. Fine. Then what is lattice? Lattice is nothing but a 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of points in space. So again, lattice is also in 3 dimension, but it is a periodic arrangement of points in space. So this is atoms, here this is point. Now, what is the difference between crystal and lattice? So basically, lattice, it is a 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of points in space. So this is actually an imaginary term, you can say. Exactly, it is an imaginary term. It is not a physical object or physical body. It is an imaginary set of points, 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of points in space, right? So basically, it is a geometric concept. But what about crystal? Crystal is a 3-dimensional periodic arrangement of atoms, ions, or a group of atoms in space, right? But it is completely a physical object, right? If I'm saying this is a crystal, that is a crystal, that is completely a physical object. Physical object means it will have physical properties or mechanical properties, right? You can measure it, dimension, you can measure it density, you can measure it properties, right? But lattice is just an imaginary thing, right? That's why it is a geometric concept. So you should not be confused between crystal and lattice. So crystal is a combination of now this is actually the real what is exactly crystal. Crystal is a combination of lattice and motif. Motif is also called basis sometime. It means a lattice and motif together forms a crystal. So if you want a crystal, then lattice should be there and motif should be there. If someone is absent, then crystal cannot be formed, right? Because lattice is a imaginary term, as I told. It is a three-dimensional periodic arrangement of points in space, and motif is basically it is a atoms or group of atoms. That means the atoms or group of atoms or group of ion, if they will sit on the lattice points, that means, as I told, it is a three-dimensional arrangement of points. In that points, if atoms or group of atoms will sit, right, those are called lattice point actually, then it will give rise to a crystal at the end. So motif or basis is nothing but atoms or group of atoms or group of ions, you can also say, present in each lattice point. Fine. So this is a diagram of a crystal, you can say. So lattice basically provides an idea about the periodicity or how to repeat the atoms, and motif basically tells about what to repeat. So this is a very interesting line. So basically lattice will give you an idea that how the atoms or group of atoms or group of ions will repeat, how they will repeat, because we can have different lattices. So different lattices have different uh, periodic arrangement of atoms will be there. Periodic arrangement of points will be there, right? But motif, it is an atom or group of atom or group of ions which will repeat. Suppose I am talking about a lattice of iron, for example. So lattice of iron will be having only points, three-dimensional arrangement of points, right? But the moment I will add iron atoms in those points, so these iron atoms are the motif or basis, right? Then it will form a crystal of iron completely, right? So you need lattice, how to repeat the atoms. It will tell about how to repeat the atoms, and motif, what to repeat. Suppose I am saying this is a crystal of copper, for example. That means there will be a lattice of copper, then copper atoms will be sitting in the lattice points. So these copper atoms are nothing but the motif or basis, right? And the three-dimensional arrangement of points for a copper is nothing but lattice of copper, right? So you can see this is, can you tell me these are group of atom or only single atom is present in this crystal?
Group of atom.
Very good, group of atom, right? Because you can see the dimension, one is bigger, one is smaller, right? Or this may be a group of ions also. This may be negative ion, this may be positive ion, right? You can see this is completely crystal. Why? Because atoms are present in a periodic manner in three dimension. Suppose this is a crystal of, suppose, sodium chloride, for example. So sodium atom will be there and chlorine atoms will be there, or you can say sodium ion will be there, positive ion will be there, and chlorine negative ion will be there. The other way you can say like that also. So this is a chlorine, then a sodium atom is there, then this is chlorine, then it may repeat again and again, right? But if you move in this direction, you can see this is a chlorine, then again chlorine, again chlorine. If you continue that in three dimension further, you'll get chlorine in this direction. If you move in this direction, you can see there is a periodic arrangement of chlorine, then sodium, then chlorine, then sodium, like that. Fine. So there is a periodicity. And if you move in this direction, for example, then you'll get sodium, then sodium, again sodium, again sodium. So atoms are arranged in a periodic manner here. So it is a crystal, right? Which is made up of, if I will remove, okay, can you tell me if I will remove these atoms of chlorine and sodium? So what will left behind? Can anybody tell me quickly? As I told, this is a crystal of sodium chloride, for example. Now, if I will remove the sodium and chlorine, all the sodium and chlorine, I will remove it from this geometry. So, what will left behind?
Simple cube.
Lattice.
Lattice. Obviously, because only points will be there, and those are imaginary points, right? So, you will left with only points, which are arranged in 3 dimension. There is a periodic arrangement of points in 3 dimension, that is lattice. So, the moment if I'll put again sodium atom and chlorine atom, it will become a crystal, because sodium atom and chlorine atom, or sodium ion or chlorine ions, are nothing but the basis or the motif, right? So lattice plus motif, or lattice plus basis, will give rise to a crystal. I think the concept is clear up to this.
Yes, sir.
Now, this is just an image to clarify the concept. This is not a real crystal, or not a real motif, or not a real lattice. You can see these are the points. Fine. These points are arranged in a periodic fashion and in 2 dimension. Basically, now for explanation, I am using 2 dimensional crystal. So this is a lattice. Now, if I will add a basis or motif, that is a heart, in this lattice points, then finally it will become a crystal of heart. It is okay, you understood? So motif is what? Heart. Heart is repeated in 3 dimension, right? And these points are nothing but the lattice points present over here. This is a lattice, this is a motif. Finally, you get a crystal of heart. Right? Instead of heart, if you are using a kite, or if you are using an ant, or if you are using a car, right? Just repeat them. You'll finally end up with a lattice of car or ants. This is for explanation. This is not the real, because we are using atoms or group of atoms, or group of ions, basically, here in case of motif. And this will be like points, basically. Another example, you can see this is an atom, for example. This is a, so can you tell me which one is what? This is what, this is what, and what you'll get?
Sir, first one is lattice.
Very good.
Second one is motif.
Yes. So finally you'll get what?
We get crystal.
Crystal of what now? This
Circle.
blue color atom, right?
Blue color atom.
Right. This is an atom. These are the three 2 dimensional arrangement of points in space. So it is a, that's why I have written 2D lattice. Actually, in the real situation, it will be 3D. But for explanation, it is a 2D lattice. And this is a motif, which is an atom, which will sit here. These are lattice points, actually. You have to remember. This is a lattice point, this is a lattice point, this is a lattice point. So atom will go and sit over here. Atom will go and sit over here. Atom will go and sit over here. All the points will be filled by this atom, blue atom. And finally, you'll get a lattice of this blue atom. Fine. So now, can you tell me what is this and what is this? Again, this is a lattice, right? 2-dimensional lattice, and this is what? This is what? This is group of atom, right? This is one atom, this is another atom. So this both will go and sit over here in this lattice point. This both will go and sit over here. This both will go and sit over here. All the lattice point will be filled by this group of atom. It is okay?
Yes, sir.
Finally, it will give rise to a crystal. So this is now a group of ions. This group of ions will arrange, you have seen like this. This one, right? Suppose this is negative ion, bigger one, this is smaller one. So negative ion will sit here, then next will be filled by the positive ion, then negative ion, then it will continue again, positive ion, then negative ion. It will continue like that. So this is a lattice. The motif are chlorine ions and sodium ion, and it will form this kind of crystal structure. You can see there is a periodicity, sodium, sodium, sodium. But if you're moving in this direction, you can see chlorine, then sodium, then chlorine, then sodium, then chlorine. So there is a periodicity maintained. In this direction also there is a periodicity. If you move in this direction, there is a periodicity. If you move in this direction, there is a periodicity, right? Everywhere there is a periodicity. Again, this is a basis or motif. This is a lattice. Finally, it will give rise to a crystal of flower. Fine. This is again for explanation. Now, what is lattice vector and lattice translation? This is a question now. So vector, you understand. Vector means it has magnitude, right, and direction. So there will be a particular direction will be present, a particular magnitude will be there, a particular distance will be there, right? So a lattice vector connecting two lattice point called lattice vector, right? Suppose this is a lattice vector, this is another lattice vector, right? And these are also lattice vectors, because this point and this point, these are lattice point. This is a lattice point, this is a lattice point, this is a lattice point. If you connect any two lattice point, that will become a vector, because it will having a magnitude. This magnitude is how much? This is of 1 magnitude, right? From here to here, it is 1 magnitude. From here to here, it is 2 magnitude, right? And lattice translation means if we move from one lattice point to another, it's called lattice translation. Suppose I want to move in this direction, so I am translating the lattice. If I want to move in this direction, I am translating, right? So translation may be in here like this, like this. Now, what is the unit cell and crystal lattice? So what is the unit cell? Unit cell is the smallest region of a space which, when repeat through lattice translation, can generate the entire crystal lattice or entire crystal or structure also, you can say, is called a unit cell. So unit cell is nothing but it is the particular region. So you can see this one. So this is a whole crystal lattice. So this portion, this yellow portion or this green portion, this yellow portion are nothing but the one unit cell, right? So unit cell is a small, as I told, it is a smallest region which will repeat in 3 dimensions to give rise to crystal structure, right? You can see same unit cells are present. They are repeated in 3 dimensions to give rise to a crystal structure or crystal lattice. Sometimes people call it as the smallest building block of crystal. Obviously, because this is the smallest, like in our human body, if the cell is the smallest unit, you can say, if cell will repeat in 3 dimensions, it will give rise to a human body. In animals also, right? Similarly, in crystal structure or in crystal, the smallest unit is the unit cell. So this is also a very good statement. So unit cell shows full symmetry of the crystal structure, right? You can see the symmetry is maintained. If the unit cell is like this geometry, you can see entire crystal is of same geometry, yes or no? The shape, I am talking about the shape, right? Or a unit cell is a parallelepiped, you have to remember, in 3 dimensions, and in 2 dimensions, it is a parallelogram, basically. And corners are lattice points. Anyways, yeah, this is a good statement. Structure of crystal consists of repeating unit in 3 dimensions called unit cell. Few unit cells. So these are few unit cells. This is one, this is one, this is one. These are the unit cells, and the corner points have lattice points. These are also unit cells. You can see these pink colors are unit cells. So we can have infinite number of unit cells in a particular lattice, but we have to select only one unit cell, right? We can have infinite number of unit cells, or infinite number of unit cells can form, but finally we have to choose a particular unit cells that will represent complete crystal, right? Because that unit cell has to repeat in 3 dimensions to form the crystal structure, right? So basically we try to choose the smallest region, basically. Now unit cell types. We have 2 types of unit cell, primitive unit cell and non-primitive unit cell. So primitive unit cells is what? So this is, see, these points are nothing but the lattice. Fine. Three-dimensional, here it is a 2D lattice, you can say, two-dimensional arrangement of points in space. So now this shaded portion and this shaded portion. So this shaded portion is the primitive unit cell, and this one is a non-primitive unit cell. So what is the difference between them? The difference is, in a primitive unit cell, you can see the lattice points are only at the corner of the unit cell, right? But here in non-primitive unit cell, the lattice points are at the corners as well as at the body center, or it may also present at the edge center or at the face center. It is okay. So primitive unit cells, if somebody is saying primitive unit cell, or some people call simple unit cells also sometimes, but basically it is called primitive. That means always the lattice points will be at the corner of the unit cell, corner points. Fine. Suppose I am talking about, I have a cubic unit cell. Yes. So suppose I am talking about a cubic unit cell, right? So in cubic unit cell, if it is a primitive unit cell, then what will be the answer? How you can say a cubic unit cell is primitive? That means in that cube have how many corners? 8 corners, right? So that means the atoms will be present in the 8 corners only. There will be no atoms anywhere else, right? But if it is a non-primitive unit cell, suppose it is again a cubic unit cell, it is a cube, right? But it is a non-primitive. Then can anybody tell me how it will become non-primitive? If the atoms will be present at the corners of the cube, 8 corners, and another atoms may, or same atoms may present at the body centered of the cube, or it may on the face centered, or it may on the edge center kind of thing. End center also. Two opposite faces. We'll see again in the coming lecture about that. Now unit cells are defined by vectors along its edges from one corner as origin, and these vectors are called basis vector. So what is a basis vector? Basically, basis vector is the vector which is connecting from origin to another points in the edges of a cube. Otherwise, if it is a cube, then edges of the cube are nothing but the basis vector. In one edge length, it is x, another edge length is y, and origin can be written as O. So OXY can be called as crystal coordinate system. Okay, now, yeah, this is finally, this is interesting. If 3 interaxial angles are known, alpha, beta, gamma. Okay, how many of you remember this alpha, beta, gamma? What is this alpha, beta, gamma in a particular unit cell or in a particular crystal structure? This is one kind of what? Lattice parameter, yes or no? I've shown you here in the previous lecture, if you remember. This one. Alpha, beta, and gamma. Alpha, beta, and gamma. Right? These are nothing but the lattice parameter I have told you in the previous class, right? So if lattice parameter is given or lattice parameter is known, right, then we can form a unit cell. What are the other lattice parameters? How many of you remember? One lattice parameter is the interaxial angles. What is another lattice parameter? The edge length, right? This is one edge length, this is another edge length, this is another edge length, right? A, B, and C, right? So we have two types of lattice parameter. One is the edge length, A, B, and C. Here this is A, B, and C, because this is origin, as I told. These are the basis vector also. If you're connecting origin from this one, origin from this one, these are basis vector, right? So basis vector or edge length and the interaxial angles, if known, you can produce a unit cell. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Unit cell can be formed by just knowing the lattice parameters. Either both should be known. Interaxial angle should be known, and your edge length or basis vector should be known. So if this is the situation, like A is equal to B is equal to C, alpha is equal to beta is equal to gamma is equal to 90 degree, then which kind of unit cell will form? Tell me quickly. If this is the situation, if this is the lattice parameter, which kind of unit cell will form? A cubic unit cell, yes or
Cubic.
no? Right? Very good. And if this is the lattice parameter, A is equal to B, not equal to C, and alpha is equal to beta is equal to gamma is equal to 90 degree. So which kind of unit cell will form?
Tetragonal.
Tetragonal, right? So that means if already this thing is known, you can generate a unit cell. Then if you know, if you can generate a unit cell, then what you can generate at the end? What you can generate at the end? What is this?
Crystal.
You can generate a crystal, obviously, because I told you unit cell is the smallest building block of a crystal, which should repeat in 3 dimensions to give rise to a crystal structure. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But what you need a lattice. Only lattice is enough to generate a crystal? No.
No, sir.
You
Motif.
need a motif, or that is also called basis. Right? You need a atoms or group of atoms or group of ions, so that they will sit in the lattice points. Finally, you'll get a crystal. So if you want to make a proper arrangement or proper order, so how you can write? Starting from smallest thing. How you can write? I can write like lattice parameter. It is okay. Then after lattice parameter, what I should write? Unit cell, yes or no? It will give rise to a unit cell. If unit cell is known, then it will repeat in 3 dimensions to give rise to a crystal. But here I should write what? A lattice should be there. And what else is required? A motif, right? Or basis. Finally, it will give rise to a crystal, right? It can be a cubic crystal, it can be a tetragonal, it can be some orthorhombic, some triclinic. We'll see that in the coming lecture. We can have different kind of unit cells, and some are primitive, some are non-primitive. Fine. I think up to this it is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'll stop here for today. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. No problem.